The Medical Courier Connection podcast would like to thank our sponsor, 7P Solutions. 7P Solutions was founded in 2010 to provide a single source solution for real-time visibility within the pharmaceutical and life sciences supply chain. Today, 7P Solutions provides a wide range of real-time GPS devices, which include devices for medical couriers and their customers. Devices include hardwired GPS solutions for vehicles, including location, time, and date, as well as complete fleet and driver management. Options include permission-based ignition, panic buttons within the driver area and cargo hold, as well as driver protection plans. Drivers who encounter trouble can easily activate an alarm to our 911 call center for immediate law enforcement dispatch. Additionally, we provide a full range of temperature monitoring solutions to ensure compliance, as well as documented chain of custody. Improve and automate your operations, customer service, and compliance through real-time GPS solutions through 7P Solutions.
Hey everybody, Ken with Integrity Medical Courier Training.
We are providing on-site training in Roseville, Minnesota.
A man's digits turned blue due to too much cannabis use. Stole the hearse and dumped the body on the side of the road, still strapped to the gurney, and then continued on with their joyride. So, stay compliant, my friends. Get all your medical courier training needs from us at www.integritydelivers.com.
Welcome, everyone, to the Medical Courier Connection podcast. I'm your host, Chris Arnold. I'm the marketing coordinator at Integrity Medical Courier Training and the Medical Courier Connection. Here with Linda Arnold. She's the co-founder of Integrity Medical Courier Training and the Medical Courier Connection and the administrative helps instructor. Linda, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Ken and I were really hyping up this episode because, as he put it, you're sort of the brains of the operation here.
Oh, my. That's big shoes to fill.
Right, yeah. Well, especially when it comes to integrity. So I figured we would just let you get going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know you have an outline for what you wanted to talk about, so.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, I think really the most important thing is to think about administration as all the things that make your business flow. So whether you're an independent contractor or you own a company with 150, 500,000 employees or independent contractors, that is really the current of your river that keeps your business going. And it's what you need to think about through every aspect of the, throughout the year. I mean, even come October, you should be thinking about your budget for next year. You should be thinking about, are you going to be able to give bonuses this year? Are you going to be able to upgrade your, maybe a couple of programs that you use, or suddenly one of your vendors is not going to be around anymore, or they're going to charge you 3 times what they had been charging you. And all of a sudden you've got this major project in your hands that you had not anticipated and you certainly didn't plan for.
Yeah, we've been on TikTok and all that for so long now, for like a year, and this is the kind of stuff that they never tell you about.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
They tell you to start your business. Like, no, I would have never even thought of that, starting a business, like
Yeah.
giving out bonuses and your budget for the next year.
Yep.
Like, how do you balance all of that?
So you really have to have, some time to yourself. I like to call it kind of your own little retreat. As either the business owner, or if you're a larger company or corporation, you take your team somewhere and you do, a real solid look at what the numbers are, how happy your staff is, how happy are your clients. Are there things that maybe your competitor is doing better than you are that you can step it up a notch?
Yeah.
And so those are some things that are super important. And so if you take that time every year, even if it's just a weekend to yourself or a week away, you can just go to a local hotel if you can't afford anything better.
Yeah.
Just something where there's no distractions. You can concentrate and focus on the things that are important. You'd be surprised the flood of information that just flows into your brain when you take that time to step back from all of the craziness of the day and really take a look at your company.
Yeah. And sort of like step into a new environment too.
Right.
Like, we've been spending a lot of this year talking about going to conferences.
Yes.
And how that new environment and opening yourself up really helps you grow your business.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, it's getting out there, shaking hands, talking about the things that matter, a lot of times we're so focused on the everyday. Our clients need this, our clients need that, our employees need this, our vendors need that we don't step out and find out, wow, this company is actually using this vendor and they're doing so much better and so much happier than we are. They've met that customer service level, or they've met that, financial level. It's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about, what you're going to get back in return from them too. So you have to think, and all of that falls under the administrative umbrella.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that taking that time, getting away and doing that at least every year is just so beneficial. So, from a business standpoint, I like to take the numbers first and take a look at that. Where am I at? Years ago, I stepped into a company and was helping them out with their finances and just figuring out how they could make their bottom dollar stretch further. And the first thing I did was I looked at their employee cost, and at that time they had employee drivers, and it was overwhelmingly, people had so much overtime. It was like, 100 hours a week of overtime. Jeez. So I took that number and I multiplied it by what their overtime rate was. And then I said, how many actual drivers could we get at regular time?
Yeah.
If we replaced all this overtime? It turned out that we were able to hire a certain set number of drivers, save the company money, take all this stress off of these drivers, because now suddenly they're not working their butts to the ground, staying late, having to stay overtime, which then, affects their family time. It affects their own personal health. They're not getting to the gym. They're not eating healthy. They're just eating on the fly, and, things like that. I mean, their sick time improved, all of this, and they had more people that if somebody called off sick, it wasn't a, oh my God situation where everybody's now scrambling, they're splitting up routes, they're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that anymore. And all it took was cutting out that overtime and hiring some people at regular pay. It was incredible.
The easiest solution.
Easiest solution.
Of course.
Not only that, but we gave everybody a raise. I mean,
Wow.
the amount of money that this company saved was ridiculous. That when they took a look at the number of, what they were spending on the extra taxes, on the extra overtime rates, and 1.5 people doing that job. I mean, if you think about it, it's such a waste.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's a relief for the employees too, because a lot of people would hear that and think like, "Oh, I bet they got nothing."
Right.
And they lost the overtime, but
right.
no, they got a raise. So
yeah, they got a raise to make up
wins.
for the money that they were losing anyway. So individually, some of those folks were like, "Well, can I cut my hours back? I'd rather do 6 a day than 8." Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we rearranged everything. We made the routes better. We looked at how these guys were doing these routes. They had them zigzagging all over the place. And to top it off, we found out that this company was the drivers were doing deliveries for companies that they thought were paying for the service. They were never clients of this courier service.
What?
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. It was so eye-opening too to think that, the driver's like, well, I don't know. I asked one of the drivers, how long have you been doing this particular stop? Well, since I got the route. This is what I was trained on. And I'm like, they're not even a client. And he was like, well, then who am I doing it for? Don't ask me.
Right? Oh, man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then we, of course, went back to that company and said, hey, if you want us to continue doing this, you're going to have to start paying.
Right.
They said no.
What?
They said no. Yep.
Wow.
They said no. But you know what? That was okay because that saved us 2 stops, the pickup and the deliveries.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would they even not know that something's wrong? Like,
right. Yeah.
how's the specimen still getting to the correct place?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yep,
insane.
it was pretty insane. Yeah. Yeah, I think they just, well, this company's here now. They're for this lab, so we're just going to give them this one and see if they figure it out. Nobody figured it out for years. Nobody knew.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty silly.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So those are some things that, when you take the time to step back and really take a rock solid look at what you're doing
Yeah.
and what your drivers are doing and the people in the office, a lot of times they think, oh, it's fine. This is fine. This is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Sounds right. But they never reach out to anybody to make sure that it is right.
Yeah.
And then you come back and you're like, what in the world? Who said that? Who approved that? So yeah, those are some big things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing we did too, we wanted to see what the difference in cost was between an employee and an IC. And then with employees, what would it cost us if we had the driver use their own vehicle and we give them a mileage reimbursement versus us just leasing vehicles? Well, we found companies that actually wanted us to lease vehicles under kind of a study. We just had to answer certain questions, do their maintenance. We didn't pay for any of the maintenance or anything, and we got huge discounted rates on the vehicles.
Wow.
So it cost us, the insurance was more expensive to put these drivers in.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you ran the numbers, it was cheaper for us to go that route. Now, when that company didn't need us anymore for that study, then it wasn't as cost effective.
Right.
And we gradually kind of stepped away from that. But if you can get in on deals like that and you can sign agreements for 3-5 years and you got new cars coming in for these people to drive.
That's a dream.
Yeah, it is a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dream job right there.
So it's really in finding ways to get rid of costs.
Yes, maximize what you're getting from not only your vendors, but from your clients as well. The client will pay a certain rate, but what can you, if they're in a building and you can add on additional stops in that building, you're already getting essentially paid for that first stop.
Yeah.
So if you can make more money getting additional stops in that building, do it. Unless it's going to take your driver in a direction they shouldn't go because it's not going to save you money.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying about step back, take a look, take a breath, and really focus in on the everyday mundane stuff. But what is it doing? What is it really doing? Like, if your driver has an accident, do you know who to call? Does your dispatcher know who to call?
Yeah.
What if the driver's unconscious? Do you know who their next of kin is? Do you know how to get a hold of family or whoever they would want you to call?
Yeah.
Does anybody know if they have allergies, or is there something that those emergency responders need to know right away? And some people say, "Oh, I don't want to know about that. I don't, that's HIPAA." No, actually, the emergency responders want to know about that because they want to save their life.
Yeah.
So those types of things are important in that, if we've got that in a locked up case, a locked up filing cabinet, if they're in an accident, we can provide that information that you can save their life.
Yeah.
And,
And we made a video about that earlier this year from a story that you told about how you started the what was it, the manual?
Yes. Yep. That's where the dispatch manual was born. That's right.
Yeah, the dispatch manual.
Yeah, the dispatch manual.
Bike courier.
Bike courier was hit by a car in downtown Denver. And nobody knew, and it was like the Three Stooges. Our dispatchers were smashing into each other. They couldn't figure out what phone called it. How you get really panicked and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what it looked like in that dispatch office. Everybody was freaking out. Nobody knew how to reach anybody. Nobody knew where she was, who took her. It took a level head to get on the line with the police department. Their dispatchers were able to tell us where she went. She actually was unconscious. We didn't have any emergency information for her whatsoever. And so we were, pretty scared about how do we even get a hold of her parents? I mean, so thankfully she made it through, but I'll tell you what, the first thing we did after that, the very next meeting was, we're doing a dispatch manual. We've got to get this stuff together. Out of that was born the in case of emergency sheet that all of the drivers carried. We just everything. I mean, who took possession of the specimens? I mean, there were so many things that we had to figure out in the heat of that moment. It was sheer panic.
Yeah.
So
and as a business owner, you're like,
yes,
it's all on your shoulders.
That's
that
right.
Moment. Oh man.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything scarier.
Oh yeah. Yep. Or the time that specimens went flying off of a pickup. It was a little pickup truck with a topper on it. I'm sure you've heard this story before, but this topper, the window would fling open and there wasn't a screen or anything on it. Well, apparently when they turned a corner getting onto the highway, it was one of those on-ramps that kind of turns, has a sharp curve. As she's doing that, the specimen, a cooler goes out the window. Nobody knows until they get a phone call from State Patrol and the lab.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, no.
And we hear those stories. It's amazing how we hear those stories. Now, I shouldn't say a lot of the time, but it's like, yeah, heard that one before, you know.
Yeah.
But how many companies have thought about that? What if that happens?
Right.
What if a whole cooler is lost? What if a car is stolen and all of this stuff is taken? Or disaster planning. What if there's a major winter storm? What if there is an outage, electrical outage? What if somebody just simply gets, cancer or something and that person, you can't come back to work, or you can't work temporarily? There was a company here in Colorado Springs. Gosh, this was probably 20 years ago now. But the owner had gotten into a skiing accident, and by the time he was rehabbed, his company was out of business.
Wow.
Because there was nothing in place how to run that company in his absence while he was not able to do his daily functions.
Yeah.
There was nobody that could just take over and, sign checks and do all these things. So, from an administrative standpoint, what are your plans for saving your business and for keeping it going in the case of an emergency or a disaster?
Yeah.
A phone outage, something like that. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to take it to the nth degree, like an EMP or something like that. God forbid that ever,
collapse,
right? Yeah. But, you never...
Things do happen.
Things do happen.
Satellites go down.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
All the time.
Yep. How are your drivers going to get a hold of you
Yeah.
in those circumstances? Do you have a backup plan? So those are all things that, from an administrative standpoint, you should every year go through your checklist. And a lot of times after you've built it, a lot of times what happens is you're like, yep, this is cool. I'm good here. I'm good there. We might want to work on this particular thing. Or better yet, as things come up throughout the year, start a list. Add to that list. These are things I need to think about. These are things I need to reevaluate a little bit deeper. Pull some numbers. Do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Definitely.
And from an independent contractor standpoint, you're responsible for everything. You've got to have your own insurance. You got to have a car that runs. What are you going to do if your car breaks down?
Yeah.
Are you taking care of yourself? I mean, so many independent contractors run themselves into the ground.
Yeah.
They're working 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a day. They're driving their car into the ground.
Yep.
And they don't think about spending time with family, vacations, sick time. Everybody gets sick.
Most holidays are just another day to work.
Right. Absolutely.
people, yeah.
And if they're not, they're panicking about, well, how am I going to make up this money?
Yeah.
Because I'm not making any money today. So, and what about tax time? Oh my God.
Oh, man.
15.3% taxes just for your Social Security, plus your income tax, federal and state. So, I mean, you're talking about if you want to be an independent contractor, you've got to be committed.
Yeah.
And you have got to know what your write-offs are. You got a budget. You've got a plan for, disasters or cars breaking down. Do you have a backup plan?
Yeah.
Don't use your credit cards because those get maxed out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then what are you going to do? How are you going to if you can't make that payment right now, then you can't make that credit card payment either.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things you got to think about from an IC perspective. Just have all that stuff thought out and planned for, and no matter what, out there on the road, you've got to. The other thing that comes to mind from an administrative standpoint is distracted driving and things like that. I mean, we all look down or turn on the radio or do whatever and that kind of stuff. And if you're driving, you're probably getting text messages or you're getting some kind of notification that you got to pick up.
Well, and back in the day, we knew someone who would drive, but before there were cell phones with touchscreens, with a clipboard
Yes.
on his steering wheel while he's driving down the highway.
Sure did. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, there was no accidents.
We won't name him because he'll get mad.
That's right.
Yeah, we have known someone to do that before.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, gosh, even road rage, we see it all the time. And, I pulled a statistic before I came in here. In 2022, 413 people were injured in road rage from shootings alone. That's not even just people who got into a fist fight or somebody threw a soda out the window at their car or broke a window out. That doesn't include any of that. That's just shootings. Wow. Yeah. So, just being careful, being cognitive of what you're doing and what's important to you and thinking through all that stuff, that underlying stuff that, what's your dream? Where do you want to see your business in a year, 3 years, 5 years? Those are so important. And if you don't know the numbers, you don't know what your family wants.
Yeah.
You don't know, what your car situation is like if you're an IC, taxes, no matter what, your sales. We haven't even touched on sales.
Right.
Man. Who are you going to get for your clients? Who's your competition?
Yeah.
What are they charging? What do they have that you don't have? What do you have that they don't have? Mm-hmm. You got to look at everything, and how are you going to set yourself apart?
Yeah. And
boy, I'll tell you, there's just such a myriad of things that it's not just running out there and getting a route and doing the route. It's all this other stuff that you have to think about.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're going to lose it, or you're not going to be happy with it, and you're going to walk away from it. Mm-hmm. And then you've invested, your time and energy. And sure, maybe that might be okay for you to walk away. But if you're just bouncing from thing to thing to thing, make this work. Being a driver, and especially in the healthcare industry, can be so rewarding.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't plan to be a good one and to be good at what you do, that's where you're going to get hung up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been like an online, almost like outcry for that help that we saw earlier in the year, which led us to build the Build Your Business course.
Yes.
Last year that we launched earlier this year, I think.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that one so we did a starting your own business from the ground up.
Yeah.
That thing is literally, you have to decide, step one, what are you going to do? Are you going to do lab specimens? Are you going to do pharmaceuticals? Are you going to do, patient transport maybe? You're going to do personal items, errands, maybe some personal errands. Wow. Are you going to do food deliveries? There's so many things you can do in healthcare. Silver Key. I mean, it's not technically healthcare, but things like that, it's patients who can't get out and do the things you and I do every day.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, it's still healthcare. And, step two, competition. If you don't know your competition, stop right now and figure that out, because that is the core of what you're going to charge. And if you don't know what you're going to charge, you don't know if you're going to make a profit. If you're not going to make a profit, what's the point?
Yeah.
So you gotta, and how much do you want to make? How much do you need to make just to make your budget. You've got bills, you've got rent, you've got food. You've got to have some savings in there. You have to have some vacation. You got to pay for health care, life insurance. I mean, there's all these things that go into that.
Yeah.
So have all that written down so you know before you get started. Your vehicle. Do you want to be a bike courier, or maybe you want to be a walker? Maybe you just want to cover a radius in a large city and do a bunch of deliveries in that city. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or do you want to drive a box truck, or can you drive a sedan? What are you going to transport? If you don't figure that out, don't go buy a car. Don't go buy a vehicle right away until you know what you want to do, because you're just going to waste that money.
Yeah.
And then, how far are you going to drive? Do you need something with really good gas mileage that's going to do well in the weather for your area? Do you deal with snow? Is it storms? What are those kinds of things look like? Do you have the capacity to store whatever vehicle you have? What about parking? If you've got a big box truck, where are you going to park that thing? What about parking it when you get to the facility?
Yeah.
Are they going to tell you, oh, you can't park there because you're taking up too much space? Think about all that stuff. And that way, when you go in to do your sales, okay, I'm driving this box truck. Where do I go? What's can my truck fit there? You got to know all of that.
Yeah.
If you're driving up in a car, is there a placard or something you need so they don't come out and scream at you? There's all these little things to think about. Financial. I mean, that's a whole topic all by itself all day long.
Yeah.
Again, I said family before, but family, if you're married or you have a child, if you don't put that at the very forefront of your mind, it's going to become an issue.
Yeah.
Like if you're running late and you miss more than one basketball game, you are in trouble. So think about stuff like that. It's important.
Yeah.
Setting it up your business. That it kind of comes lower in the grand scheme of it, because if you don't have all that other stuff figured out, it doesn't really matter what kind of business you set up.
Yeah.
So set up your business the way you want to project yourself. You can start out as a sole proprietor and then become, an LLC, and then maybe become an S corp and a C corp if you grow big enough, if that's what you want to do. Some people say, you know what, I want to have about 10 drivers and then I'm good. And if that's your comfort zone, shoot for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Can make that work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's all these things, but that first course that we did, Starting Your Own Business from the Ground Up, that covers all of those topics in depth. And then our administrative course that follows that up is more for, okay, I'm in the business now. These are some bigger things that I need to think about. That covers disaster planning and all those bigger topics,
nice.
Reporting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've got some great classes for people that are really thinking about it.
Definitely.
Yeah. And they're affordable.
Right.
If you use the coupon code TikTok, or I can't remember exactly. I think that's it though.
Yeah.
But if you use that coupon, you get that class for $29. Mm-hmm. So
that's right. Yeah, I need to write that down. I'll
put it up on there. Throw it up on the. Throw it up there.
Up in the middle there. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today?
I don't think so. I think moving forward, if we'd like to do an admin topic maybe once a month or so, once every 6 weeks, and I really want to hone in on some great topics and kind of drill down on those. Definitely. And so if people have ideas, they should throw them in the comments. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And we'll keep an eye on that, and email us, give us a call. All of that stuff will be up there on the screen, and feel free to check that out, and be happy to service you.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube. Let us know in the comments any suggestions you have. You can reach out to us at integritydelivers.com. All of Ken's information's on there. He's the main point of contact. Thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I know
Appreciate
people have been
it.
waiting for this. So
awesome. That's great.
To have you.
Yeah.
But awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Ken with Integrity Medical Courier Training.
We are providing on-site training in Roseville, Minnesota.
A man's digits turn blue due to too much cannabis use. Stole the hearse and dumped the body on the side of the road, still strapped to the gurney, and then continued on with their joyride. So, stay compliant, my friends. Get all your medical courier training needs from us at www.integritydelivers.com.